It was supposed to be a normal school morning. Kids laughing in the hallways, teachers sipping their coffee, and a friendly visit from the local police K-9 unit, just to teach students how police dogs help in real-life situations. Everything seemed perfectly ordinary, until one of the dogs suddenly froze. His ears perked up. His nose twitched. And without warning, he began barking. Loud. Aggressive. Determined. At first, everyone thought he was just distracted, maybe a leftover sandwich in someone's backpack or the scent of another dog. But this wasn't just barking. This was different. He pulled away from his handler. He started dragging the officer down the hall. Right past classrooms, straight to an old janitor's closet no one had opened in years. He barked. Scratched at the ground. Growled. Refused to move. The teachers thought it was a mistake. The students were giggling. But the officer wasn't laughing. Because this dog, his name was Max, had never been wrong. Not once. And when they finally listened to him, when they opened that closet, what they found hidden beneath that very school left everyone frozen. It was disturbing. It was heartbreaking. And it changed the lives of everyone who walked those school halls forever. Trust me, you won't believe what that police dog uncovered. Stay with me till the end, because this story isn't just about a bark. It's about a silent cry for help. And how one loyal animal did something no human even noticed. Until it was almost too late. It started like any other Tuesday morning at Crestwood Elementary. The school bell rang at exactly 8:15. Kids rushed in, lunchboxes swinging, shoes squeaking on the waxed floors. Teachers greeted each other in the hallway with tired smiles and coffee in hand. It was going to be a special day. The local police department had scheduled a K-9 demonstration for the students. A fun, interactive way to show how dogs help solve real crimes. The kids were excited. I mean, what's cooler than a real-life police dog coming to your school? Officer Daniels walked in with Max, his German Shepherd partner. Max looked calm. Alert. Professional. Like he had done this 100 times. The officer gave Max a few simple commands to entertain the students: sit, stay, sniff, find. Everyone clapped. Some kids even tried mimicking the commands themselves, laughing when Max didn't listen. But then, something changed. Right in the middle of the gym, Max stopped. His nose lifted slightly into the air. He sniffed once. Then twice. And just like that, he was off. He pulled hard against the leash, yanking Officer Daniels down the hallway, past the cafeteria, past classrooms, until he reached a dusty corner near the back of the building. An old janitor's closet. Locked. Forgotten. Max barked again. Louder. More frantic this time. His paws scratching at the floor like he was trying to dig. Teachers looked at each other in confusion. Officer Daniels's face went pale. Max wasn't playing anymore. Something was wrong. And what lay beneath that closet floor? It was something no one expected, not in a school like this, not anywhere. Max wasn't just any dog. He wasn't new to this. Max was a veteran K-9 officer, a 5-year-old German Shepherd trained in search and rescue, narcotics detection, and human tracking. But more than that, he was a partner. A protector. A silent hero with instincts sharper than most people's awareness. Officer Daniels had been working with Max for nearly 4 years. They'd been through storms, searches, even gunfire. And Max? He never barked without a reason. Not once. There was this one case, months before. A little girl had gone missing during a family hike in the woods. Search teams couldn't find a trace of her. But Max did. He followed her scent for nearly 2 miles through rough terrain, across a stream, and into a collapsed drainage pipe. He found her. Cold. Scared. But alive. That was Max. Reliable. Intelligent. Intuitive. So when he started barking at that janitor's closet in the school hallway, Officer Daniels didn't ask questions. He didn't hesitate. He got on his radio and called for backup. Because he knew Max had found something again. But this time, it wasn't out in the woods. It was right here. Inside a school filled with innocent children. And whatever it was, it couldn't wait. Within minutes, the hallway that was once filled with laughter and routine turned tense. Max wouldn't stop barking. His body was stiff. Tail rigid. Eyes locked on the floor beneath that closet door. Teachers tried to calm the kids. The principal asked Officer Daniels if they should stop the demonstration. But Daniels didn't answer. His focus was completely on Max. He gently pulled the door open. The old janitor's closet was barely used anymore. Dust lined the shelves. A rusted mop bucket sat in the corner. The light flickered overhead. But Max didn't go inside. Instead, he began pawing at a spot on the floor, right near the far wall. A square section of tile that looked a little too perfect. Max scratched. Then stopped. He let out a deep, low growl. The kind that says, "Something's here." Right here. Daniels crouched down and tapped the floor. Hollow. He radioed the local precinct. Within 15 minutes, more officers arrived. The school was placed under temporary lockdown, just to keep the kids safe and unaware. Maintenance was called to open up the floor. And that's when it happened. As the first few tiles were lifted, a wave of cold, stale air escaped from beneath. The officers paused. Max whined softly and backed up. What they saw under that floor wasn't a broken pipe. Wasn't old wiring. It was a space. A small, hidden chamber. Dark. Cramped. And very, very real. They shined a flashlight inside. And what the beam revealed, it made every officer in that room go silent. Completely silent. At first, no one moved. The officers just stared into the hole. A small, square opening, no more than 3 feet wide. It looked like a room. Hidden beneath the floor. Officer Daniels was the first to lower himself down. He crouched through the tight space, flashlight shaking slightly in his hand. The air was cold. Damp. The smell. Mold. Old food. Dust. And something else, sadness. The light hit the far wall. And that's when they saw it. A thin mattress on the floor, barely more than a sheet. A few candy wrappers scattered nearby. An empty water bottle. A small stuffed bear missing one eye. But what stopped Officer Daniels in his tracks was the notebook. Lying open. Face up. Pages filled with messy handwriting. Crayon drawings. Tear stains. It wasn't a storage room. It was a hiding place. Someone had been living down here. And not just for a night or two. 4 weeks. Maybe longer. Every officer in that room felt it. That drop in their chest. That ache in their throat. Because this wasn't just some forgotten space under a school. This was survival. They called in social services and a forensic team. The room was carefully cleared, every piece of evidence, every wrapper, every crayon drawing, collected. Then came the diary. On the first page, in a child's handwriting, were the words. "If you're reading this, please don't be mad I was here. I didn't know where else to go." Page after page told the same heartbreaking story. A child afraid to go home. Afraid of being hurt. Hiding at school because it felt safer than their own bed. The writings were simple. Honest. Raw. Descriptions of sneaking food from the cafeteria garbage, hiding when the janitor came close. And most of all, the child described the silence, the loneliness, and one line that broke every heart who read it. I don't think anyone would even notice if I disappeared forever. But someone did notice. Max noticed. That bark wasn't random. That growl wasn't a game. He felt what no one else could hear. A silent scream, buried beneath the floorboards. And he refused to walk away. The notebook found beneath the floor wasn't just scribbles and drawings. It was a window into a life that had gone completely unnoticed. Page after page, the child wrote with a kind of honesty that only comes from someone who's been hurt far too much, far too young. He didn't write his name at first. Just called himself the quiet boy. He wrote about how school was his favorite place, not because he liked homework, but because it was the only place where he felt safe. He wrote about the noises at home. The yelling. The footsteps. The breaking of plates. And the bruises. He wrote about how nobody asked. How teachers smiled at him, but never looked close enough. So one day, he just didn't go home. He waited until the school closed. Hid in the bathroom stall. Waited until night. Then he crawled into that tiny room under the closet, something he had discovered by accident while sneaking around. He thought it would be just for one night. But that one night became 2. Then a week. Then more. He lived off scraps. Took leftover lunch food when no one was looking. He listened to classes through the vents, pretending he was still part of them. But no one came looking. No missing poster. No phone call. Just silence. Until Max. The dog found me, the child wrote on the last page. He didn't say anything. But he looked at me like I mattered. I think he knew I was still here. I think he cared. That's the moment everyone realized, Max hadn't just found a child. He had heard the cry no one else listened for. He had felt the pain buried deep beneath laughter and morning announcements. And he answered it, with a bark that broke the silence. A bark that saved a life. Once the truth was uncovered, things moved quickly. The diary, the space beneath the floor, and the child's condition sparked an immediate investigation. Child Protective Services were brought in that same evening. And finally, the quiet boy was taken somewhere safe. Officers and counselors spoke with him gently. No pressure. No force. Just patience. And slowly, the full story came out. His name was Leo. He was just 10 years old. His home life was a nightmare. His parents had a long history of domestic violence, both toward each other and toward him. The school hadn't known. No one had. Leo had mastered the art of being invisible. But that invisibility had ended, thanks to Max. His parents were found and arrested. Charged with multiple counts of abuse and neglect. The community was shocked. News spread fast. But what really stood out was how the town came together. Teachers began checking in more closely with their students. The school added new safety procedures, including anonymous journals, counselor access, and weekly emotional check-ins for every child. Donations poured in to support Leo's recovery, and to fund programs for at-risk youth. And Max was given a Medal of Honor by the mayor. A shiny badge attached to his collar that he wore proudly. But he didn't need it. Because he already knew. He had done his job. He had listened. He had cared. And he had saved a life. Not with words. Not with weapons. But with a bark, and a heart that refused to ignore what others didn't see. And that made Max more than a police dog. It made him a hero. Sometimes, the loudest cries are the ones we never hear. They're not shouted from rooftops. They're hidden in silence. In quiet kids. In tired eyes. In fake smiles. Leo was one of those kids. He didn't know how to ask for help. He didn't think anyone would listen. But Max listened. And that should make all of us pause. Because if a dog could feel something was wrong, why couldn't we? The truth is, there are Leos in every school. In every neighborhood. Children who smile during roll call but cry themselves to sleep. Kids who are told to just behave when they're really just hurting. And maybe, just maybe, we need to start looking a little closer. Not just with our eyes, but with our hearts. Max didn't need words. He didn't need proof. He just knew. And because of him, a child was rescued, a truth was uncovered, and a system was reminded to do better. So the next time someone seems off, the next time a child goes quiet, the next time you think it's probably nothing, remember Max. And listen. Because listening, really listening, can save a life. Just like it did that day at Crestwood Elementary. Just like it did for Leo. If this story moved you, even just a little, share it. Not for views. Not for clicks. But because someone out there might need to hear it. Someone out there might be Leo. And maybe, just maybe, this time, we'll be the ones who listen.